My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada?
Well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail. So check your sources before you write things like that.
Okay, Mark, we shall certainly check our sources on this.
Mark Carney was caught in his most egregious lie yet, as even now the mainstream media is getting concerned with his ties to Beijing after it was reported that Carney met with an organization that allegedly acts as a proxy for the PRC. And then he denied it, even knowing who that organization was.
Let's take a look.
Hi, Nujida Malise, Globe and Mail. My colleagues have a story today about a Liberal candidate's relations with China-friendly groups and a meeting that you also held with a pro-Beijing group. So my question is, why did you meet with this pro-Beijing group, Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada? And is the party okay with the fact that Liberal candidate Peter Yan has been so close with the Chinese consulate and China-friendly groups, given the public inquiry into foreign interference, says that this is a tactic China uses to exert influence?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail. So in your question, and I guess in the article in question, you said I had a meeting with whatever your term was, Beijing group. I've never heard of this group, okay? Never heard of this group. Certainly didn't have a set-up meeting with this group. Full stop. So check your sources before you write things like that.
Okay, Mark, we shall certainly check our sources on this.
This is going to get the Northern Perspective treatment.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to hear all of the non-reporting of how Mark Carney is talking down to the media and chastising the media. I cannot wait to hear all of the non-reporting that is going to happen about this, because that's all we've heard when it comes to Pierre Poilievre. So he says that you can't believe everything you read in the Globe and Mail, and which we don't necessarily disagree with that statement.
Well, everybody should be scrutinizing absolutely everything that they hear or see. That's
right.
That's not up for debate.
But in this case, Mark, you better be careful at what you're saying. So obviously some people at the Globe and Mail didn't really like Mark Carney saying what he said. One of those individuals was Stephen Chase. Now, Stephen Chase was one of the reporters that actually put out the hit piece on Pierre Poilievre that happened a couple weeks ago about this whole India thing. Now, I don't know if this is kind of the makeup card for this, but I'll take it. So Peter Chase posted this on X. The Globe and Mail reported Thursday that during the Liberal leadership race, Mark Carney met with executives of the pro-Beijing Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada. Mr. Carney today denied this during a press conference. Here are the photos of Mr. Carney with JCCC leadership. So you can see that right there. Now, what article are we talking about? This is the article that we're talking about. Liberal candidate Peter Ewan chosen to replace Paul Chang linked to pro-Beijing groups and events. So here's a couple of excerpts from this article.
The new Liberal candidate as of Wednesday was listed as Honorary Director of the Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada, or JCCC, a Toronto headquartered organization founded in 2002 with clear ties to China's United Front Work Department. The UFWD answers to the ruling Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee and oversees Beijing's influence, propaganda, and intelligence operations inside and outside of China. Justice Marie-Josée Hogue's 2024 public inquiry into foreign meddling identified China as the, quote, most active perpetrator of foreign interference, end quote. One that uses, quote, proxies, individuals, or organizations taking explicit or implicit directions, end quote, from Beijing. Quote, It supports those it believes helpful to its interests at the time and those it believes are likely to have power no matter their political party, end quote, Justice Hogue said. Chuck Kwan of the Toronto Association for Democracy in China said it is well known within the Chinese Canadian community that the JCCC and Chinese Freemasons are pro-Beijing proxy organizations. During the Liberal leadership race, Mr. Carney met with the executives of the JCCC, according to its website, which described the former central banker's entry into politics as, quote, an important turning point in the upgrading of China-Canada relations, end quote.
Now, because we never like taking our sources directly from X, because you definitely can't believe a lot of things that are posted on X, we tried to find this organization's website, and we subsequently did. Now, this is where Stephen Chase got his pictures from, but we wanted to show another picture. So you can see Mark Carney with a bunch of individuals here. This picture is proudly displayed on on the website, and you can see another MP of Mr. Carney's on the far left there. Now, this was a section of text that was located at the top of this website where those pictures are located. And we were wondering, what does this say? So we had it translated.
So the headline reads, a financial giant takes the helm of the maple leaf country. A breakthrough in China-Canada strategy welcomes new dawn. Now, please keep in mind, this is a rough translation that we ran through an AI program. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be fairly close. On March the 9th, Canada underwent a major political shift as Mark Carney was elected leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, signaling that he will likely assume the position of Prime Minister in the near future. Recently, the Canada Jiangsu Commerce Council held an in-depth meeting with Mr. Carney, during which Council President Zhu Zhangguang and other representatives discussed key topics and received thoughtful responses from Mr. Carney. In light of current global economic uncertainties and challenges in Canada-US relations, Mr. Carney emphasized that diversifying trade is essential to reducing Canada's over-reliance on the US. This requires strengthening trade relationships with emerging powers and constructing new trade corridors and partnerships. He also pointed out the importance of Canadian businesses expanding beyond traditional Western markets. At the same time, Carney stressed the need to attract high-quality international capital and investment, particularly in sectors such as clean energy, digital trade, fintech, and AI-powered computing infrastructure.
And here's another section of text from that same website.
His return has drawn interest from many in the Chinese-Canadian business community, particularly for his emphasis on promoting Canada's role in clean energy and technology cooperation with Asia. In his recent meeting with the Jiangsu Commerce Council of Canada, Zhu Zhangguang, the council's chairman, praised Carney's deep insight and vision. The two sides exchanged views on enhancing bilateral cooperation in clean technology, digital trade, and financial services.
So, folks, it's not like this meeting happened a year ago or 2 years ago. This meeting allegedly happened just over a month ago. And for this website claiming to have in-depth discussions with Mark Carney, Mark, how is it possible that you have no idea who these people are, and you're saying that the Globe and Mail is essentially making stuff up, that this meeting never happened? What? So now you're accusing this organization of just plastering this all over their website and it didn't happen? And that they photoshopped you in to like these pictures with people from their council? Is that what you want Canadians to believe?
Well, the interesting thing is you can see the backdrop in the X post of those photos or all of the Canadian flags. And then in the photo that we took directly from the website, although they're not in front of that particular backdrop, you can see it like way in the background. So obviously it was taken at the same event, or at least at the same venue.
Right. And for him to be just coming out so adversarial to this is a big problem. All right. And you can tell that even the mainstream media is being like, ooh,
Well, they're trying to tiptoe around it because if you ask me, at least what it seems like from where I'm sitting, the mainstream media wants a Liberal government again because that's their payday. They know that if Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives get in, their money is drying up and they're going to have to earn their own money instead of taking taxpayer money. So it seems to me, at least, that the liberals I should rephrase that the mainstream media wants the liberals to be government because they know that's where the money's coming from. But even they are like, this is kind of bad.
Well, that's what I mean. They have to be careful of who they, associate themselves with, and what happens if Mark Carney gets in and things go south really quick because he is so in bed with China, as we've seen.
You saw how defensive he was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. And this is a guy that has been trying to get in bed with China since he was at least the governor of the Bank of England, when he was trying to build relationships there and meeting with the president of the Central Bank of China at that point. And he spent a lot of time meeting with China last year, especially right before he decided to run for the Liberal Party. And then Paul Chang, those allegations come out, and which were proven true, where he encouraged people to literally kidnap a conservative candidate, bring them to the Chinese consulate, collect $184,000 in a bounty so he could be shipped back to China and, potentially disappear. And then he was challenged on that and saying, no, it's fine. He's full of integrity. He has a 30-year career, despite the fact that he encouraged people to commit a crime. And then he appoints this new guy, Peter Ewan, who's even more tangled up in Chinese proxy organizations here in Canada, that diaspora communities are literally jumping up and down, waving their hands about, saying, what are you doing? And then Carney is called out at being an attendee at one of these events with one of these organizations that is tied up in the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, and he was so defensive about it.
Right.
So defensive. And I guess this begs the question, what does this mean for Canadians? Well, I think it means that when we go to the polls in a few weeks, we need to really, really look at all the evidence that's available to us and know that we're making the right decision when we check off that ballot.
Now, let's check the rest of his answer.
I'm a politician. I go to events where there are hundreds and thousands over the course of a day of different people there. That is not a meeting. If somebody happens to be in the room, takes a picture with me, that's not a meeting, okay? First point. Secondly, with respect to Mr. Yun, this is a person who has served his community for decades. This is a person who's deputy commissioner of the police, okay? A person in discharge of those responsibilities meets with a variety of community groups in the community because that's his job. That's his responsibility. We're proud to have him as a candidate, and I honor his service, including on today. Thank you.
So here's the thing. If you as a leader want to be pro-China, pro-US, pro-Russia, pro-whatever country, doesn't really matter, pick one, and you stand by those values, why are you denying it to the public? It seems like Carney wants to be pro-China, but doesn't want the Canadian public to know that he's pro-China.
Well, and the question is why, right? And he even said, oh, well, he tried to even explain it away so that, well, even if I did meet with these people, it must have been at an event. Well, based on what they're saying on their own website, sounds like this was more than just they came up to you and took a picture and then left.
Yeah, this wasn't like one of Pierre's 5,000 person rallies where maybe he takes some photos with some people.
Right.
This seemed more intimate than that.
And this didn't look anything like the setup for Mr. Carney's rallies. And where are all the hundreds and thousands of people that he was talking about that go to these things in these pictures? Because there's nobody to be found except the people that are part of the JCCC. And then he says, well, even if there was, it was just a photo op. Well, not according to this other organization who had a in-depth conversation with you about this stuff. And the talking points that they are saying that you've said, we've heard you say them. So obviously something happened there, because you had pictures with these people that you say you never met. You had conversations with these people, which you say you've never heard of. And now you are publicly endorsing another guy who is being called out saying he is very, very, very pro-Beijing and has been known to associate with these organizations. Just as you stood there and defended and said almost the exact same thing about Paul Chen. Well, this is someone who has served their community for decades. Well, he's now under investigation by the RCMP.
Well, bottom line, if Canadians are going to be voting in this historic election, which we are, we deserve to know who our potential future leader intends on getting in bed with.
And we deserve to know why Mr. Carney and China keep coming up and keep being associated together. And not just Carney and China, Carney and the Communist Party of China.